Hi, I'm Kimfitnesschic. This is my live channel. I'm doing something a little bit different today. This is 4 things that should be done in classrooms. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and what I realized is us as a society, we are so overran by sensory integration. Sensory is coming from every direction, and our kids are the ones that are having the hardest time with it because they're bombarded with sensory input, and yet their sensory systems are supposed to still regulate, and it's not regulating well. Then you add in all the toxins, all the preservatives, all the additives, all the food allergies, all the chromosomal abnormalities, all of that. And it's just no wonder that the kids at school are having such a hard time. I actually first became interested in sensory integration when I was working as a therapeutic support staff. I had kids that would cry for 23 hours out of the day. And I never saw the BSC at that time because the BSCs were never around back then. You were given a treatment plan and you were told, here you go, help this child. Well, I've always been one that loved children, so I took that pretty seriously. That wasn't like, oh, it's just a job. Sorry, I can't help you. I'm just here to get a pay. It wasn't like that for me. So I just really tried to research and try to figure out, try to problem solve, try to think through with my head any possible solutions. Well, plus I had early intervention background. So I'd worked with a lot of speech therapists. I had done an internship in the NICU, following the neonatologist, because that's actually what I wanted to do when I came out of early intervention school. Was I wanted to work in the NICU. Anyways, so I had a lot of experience working with others and others training me on understanding. And I always asked a lot of questions. If I was told to do something by an occupational therapist, I didn't just say, okay. I was like, well, why? Tell me why. Explain to me. Explain to me what it's doing to the brain. So it just kind of increased my knowledge. So anyways, so what we figured out with this kid was, it was the airplanes flying over, they were hurting his ears because he was super sensitive to sound. The vacuum, when it was going, he had a meltdown for hours afterwards. If the blender was on, he had a meltdown for hours afterwards. Well, then I had quite a few kids like this, you know, kids that would like bang their head to get sensory input. I mean, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of sensory stuff going on. Well, then I had my own kids. My own kids had significant sensory issues too. Screaming, crying to get a shower. Oh my God. Washing my kids' hair was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. My kids are probably going to be so mad that I'm doing this, by the way. But I won't say names of which one had these issues. Well, anyways, I mean, it was a drag down fight, brushing teeth. I mean, everything. Tags on the socks, tags on the shirts. I would cut shirt tags out. Sweeping, the blender, the vacuum, just using me as a jungle gym to get sensory input. I mean, all of it. Anyways, so needless to say, my kids are doing pretty well, but it's been pretty, it's been a long haul, to say the least. So when I started to think about that, and I've also worked as a behavior specialist in schools. So I've seen a lot of the different classrooms. I've seen a lot of the things that the kids struggle with. You know, I've seen what causes the schools the most issues. So I started to think about this. And I started to think about what we do in homes that could be done in schools. And one of the things is when we go in as behavior specialists into homes, we don't just say, okay, these kids, they're escalated, do your coping skills. No, they got to learn this skill. So we have them role play specific coping skills when they're home. Because here's the thing, if you're already escalated and you're mad and I tell you to calm down, what are you going to tell me to do? You're going to tell me, And I would be the same way. If I'm escalated, don't tell me to calm down. I'm already escalating. So one of the things that we've learned to do is role play coping skills. And I've heard so many medical professionals or professionals say, deep breaths and count to 10. Well, I can tell you, counting to 10 and taking deep breaths does not work for me. It's just going to piss me off more if someone tells me to do those two things. So what I've learned to do with the kids is go through a reinforcement survey questionnaire. And then based on that, we can figure out what works for them. Some of the kids, it can be exercise. Some of the kids, it can be yoga. Some of the kids, it can be progressive muscle relaxation, which I'm thinking about doing a video short eventually on that one. It can be ripping shreds of paper into a box. It can be punching a pillow. It could be doing a mad run or a mad dance. It needs to be individualized. But if each kid in each classroom had 3 specific coping skills that the family helped identify with that school personnel, then they could have little just visual cards on their desk reminding them, if you need to do these, here's your coping skills. Because if they get to the point of escalation, they're not going to use them. You got to use them. There's an escalation hierarchy. Down here, you might see like some avoidance, some refusal, then it may go up to crying, screaming, throwing things, and then it might become all out physical. So if you intervene up at the top, forget it. You might as well forget it. You're going to have to wait them out and wait until they calm down. It's not going to work. But if you can catch them down here and have them role play those coping skills, each one have a different one. Like, okay, let's take 5 minutes and let's role play each individual's coping skills. You're going to have a lot successful classroom. The kids are going to learn more, and everybody's not going to be so frustrated. The second thing is calm down time. I don't know about you. Some people are morning people. Some people are night people. Some people in the middle of the afternoon, you know, they get real tired and they're lethargic at work. And then other people are revved up all the time. So one of the things that I often see is kids go out for recess and then they come in and they're expected to sit down. And I don't know about you, but if I'm expected to sit down after I've ran a marathon, it's not going to work. My adrenaline is like running, it's running too high. You need something to bring that sensory system back down to level. Not too low, not too high, just right. So one of the things that could be done is yoga time. Have the kids do 3 yoga poses that takes 5 minutes, and then it helps bring them down, and then everyone's more successful. I am all about win-win situations. Whenever I talk with families, it is always about let's figure out win-win situations where everybody involved wins. And so that's another thing. Another one is in the afternoon, if they're tired and lethargic. If I had one kid that I worked with, and he literally would sit there like this, and he was young, he was preschool, and we would watch him. We would watch his sensory system shut down right in front of our eyes. He would go like this. His sensory system completely shut down in front of our eyes within 2 minutes. That's how dysregulated his sensory system was. So one of the things that the school personnel and I worked on was, okay, his system's shutting down. I was not an OT, but looking at the behavior and trying to figure out something to put in place to make him more successful. I am not an OT. So none of this is coming from an OT standpoint. I will tell you, it is not occupational therapy. I am talking sensory integration from a behavioral standpoint, because that's my field. So what we had him do was, we had him go out, and I was like, well, let's have him do exercise, because let's just see, you know, we had exhausted all other options. Let's just see if this works. So I said, let's go out, let's have him do some jumping jacks, and let's have him do some mad runs take 5 minutes and do that. So he went out, and we would have to catch him. So we had TSS with him, and we would have to have the TSS closely monitor him, because if he started to go like this, then we would have to quickly get him out of the room and have him go out, do the exercises, and come back in. But what we found is his attention improved. It not only did it keep him from falling back to sleep, it improved his response time, it improved his ability to participate. So one of the things, maybe in the morning or afternoon in schools, just take 5 minutes and have the kids do exercise. I know a couple of the schools that I've heard have started this. They've just had exercise like 5 minutes in the afternoon to wake the kids up. The other thing is self-monitoring charts, especially in the young grades. Get kids to learn to self-monitor themselves early. Self-monitoring only has to be 80% accurate to be successful. So one of the things that I really started to do with the kids that I worked with is, I would try to think of one role that they were almost 100% successful with, and then 2 that they struggled with. And we would clearly define the role. We would develop a picture, and then at the top of a page, I would have the picture of the 3 roles. And down the side, we would have their schedule. So it was like their activities that they had to do throughout. And then there's different ways to do it. Some of them, we let them draw in their own smiley faces, because we use this at home too for the kids. We let them draw in their own smiley faces. We let some of them draw stars. Some of them, we just had them circle a smiley or a frowny. So, but basically what we were able to do is, we were able to review before each period, here's your roles, here's your roles, here's your roles. And they had that visual reminder for the kids that process visual better than auditory on their desk. Then they were able to see. They weren't able to argue, because they were able to see clearly. And basically, once they completed it, they just showed the teacher it, and the teacher would say, well, no, what about this? And would correct any that they were incorrect. But then basically what we saw is, as we took data, I would graph each role, the success for each day. So we were able to see the percentage success for each role for each day. Then gradually, like, we would start reinforcement depending on where the kid is. Some of the kids needed immediate reinforcement, so they got reinforcement after each session or activity or class. But then gradually, as they were successful, maybe within a couple of days, we would move to 2 periods, and then 3 periods, and then 4 periods, and then 5 periods, and then on. So anyways, but this is just something, and I debated doing this for a long time, but then I thought about, I can only have so many clients that I work with. So I really wanted to get this information out to a wider community than I have access to currently. So, 4 things that should be done in every classroom. Role play, individualized coping skills, not let's have group coping skills time. Have each family figure out at the beginning of the year 3 coping skills for the kids. Have the school guidance counselors, you know, principals, whatever, help come up with 3 coping skills for each kid, and those are the coping skills. When you have coping skills, they can practice those 3. So calm down time, yoga time, anytime that you see a sensory system shutting down or slowing down, or I'm sorry, anytime you see a sensory system that's like revved up, like they're fidgeting, they're having a hard time sitting, like this would be a kid that I would say needs some yoga time. Or you could put their butt on a therapy ball or a tea stool, and it would help them focus. Alert time, if their sensory system shutting down, providing that alert time to help bring their sensory system back to baseline. And self-monitoring chart with no more than 3, and it has to be clearly defined. If you are going to say, child will behave, yeah, you're going to set yourself up for failure. It must be clearly defined. It must be measurable. It must be achievable. It must be something that the kid can do. Some of the things that we've done is the child will remain in his designated area, and we had tape around his area. Then we moved to the child will sit at his desk, in his chair. He will sit, because once we told him he had to sit at his desk, or sit at his chair, he started to move his chair around away from his desk. So then we had to think again, and we had to make the chair at the desk to be successful. Some of them, keep hands, feet, and body to yourself. Complete my paper. Follow classroom roles. We've had pick up toys. We've had just basically anything that the kids turn in. Homework we've had. So yeah, so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And I am going to do yoga after I get my son from summer school. So, all right, have a good day. See ya.